Curious Calico here, checking in for another session of therapy. I do appreciate you taking the time to tune in. Today I'd like to request a bit of your time, if I may, to pose a question that has been on my mind for quite some time now. This particular question I personally invite anyone out there to answer should you feel compelled to do so. Just be sure to keep things respectful and of course from a logical perspective. In other words, gentlemen, let's keep this a masculine space and attempt to minimize all of the emotions and feelings. So without further delay, the question is, and again I ask this with absolutely no ill intent involved, why join MGTOW over IBMOR as a black man? Now before we dive further into this particular question, I would like to take the moment to reflect on the fact that regardless of race, today's Western gynocentric society could honestly care less about the well-being of any man out there, individually or as a collective for that matter. And because of this harsh truth, which has now awakened many men in every location of the planet, there are very few red pill aware men out there today who would dare consider questioning or even worse, shaming another man's decision to ultimately go MGTOW, IBMOR, SYSBM, known as Save Yourself Black Men, RPB, known as Red Pill Brothers, or even better yet, ghosting from society altogether, should you be so blessed to have this particular ace up your sleeve. To be perfectly honest with you, there are many other very effective alternative philosophies out there I've unfortunately failed to mention in an honest attempt to keep myself on topic. If you wish to learn more, YouTube is definitely a great place to begin your research. Several content creators have shared public testimonies confirming peace, happiness, and most importantly, purpose is obtainable should you remain just as diligent throughout the course of your own self-driven lifestyle transformation. Additionally, some of the lifestyle changes stemming from these philosophies, despite their original motivating factors, offer a tremendous amount of support as well as stability to several grade of high-value men out there, especially when it comes to initially discovering as well as fully functioning within the best versions of themselves. Let's face it, fellas, with all things considered, anything sounds better than submitting to these feminazis and their onward subjective push for female superiority as well as dominance. Of course, based solely on emotions and regurgitated blue pill simp rhetoric. Still, in my continued attempt to keep things moving in a positive direction, I reluctantly digress back to the topic at hand. So I said all that to say, as men overall, none of us would disagree with any accusation highlighting the sad reality that in this Western matriarchal society, the laws of today in general are heavily geared towards favoring the female gender as well as their terrible lifestyle decisions. Without doubt, thanks to all of those white knights, manginas, and beta males out there, disguised behind their egalitarian beliefs, ensuring the required legislation passed accordingly. So when the time comes to lock arms with your brothers in solidarity and begin that new chapter in your life, blaze that new trail, so to speak, why do some of us as black men, assuming you are a heterosexual black man, decide to represent the MGTOW movement, versus seeking out and joining forces with some of the brothers currently encompassed in the IBMOR community? Of course, outside the temptation to seek validation or support from the dominant society. Now, I only bring up one's sexual nature as heterosexuality is a requirement of IBMOR. IBMOR, for those of you not familiar with this particular acronym, stands for Introspective Black Men of Reform. If you wish to learn more, your guy Curious highly recommends researching IBMOR content on YouTube, not only to assist with the expansion of your worldviews, but also your spiritual beliefs. For those of you not familiar with the MGTOW acronym, please check out my previous video, Can We Find Our Way? In that video, you will find such clarification. Shameless plug, I know. Still trying to grow my channel. With that now out of the way, let's circle back to the topic at hand. My intention for bringing this particular question up is not to start some type of foolish conflict between the two groups in question. I'm a firm believer as men, a topic such as this one can be discussed openly and objectively, without any drama or beef ensuing. Let's face it, both MGTOW and IBMOR consider the empowerment of men everywhere a top priority, period. If either group can help you upgrade the current conditions of your life, do not continue to stand in the way of your future blessings. Now, before I get ahead of myself, I must honestly admit At this stage in my life, although I am fully aware red pill man, I do not officially fully identify with either of these philosophies. Not because I feel I'm necessarily above doing so, but more due to the fact I have a higher respect for both of these philosophies, and have no desire to join some of the individuals I occasionally see out there from time to time, misrepresenting and at certain times straight up embarrassing the principles of these philosophies in which they stand for. Allow some of the less informed individuals in our society to then cast certain aspersions in their weak attempts to vilify anything they identify as a potential threat to their current way of life. At times, although these overzealous individuals genuinely do mean well, unfortunately their obvious lack of understanding as well as knowledge generally leads to way more harm than good in the end. And depending on the environment, could leave these individuals exposing themselves to all types of unknown adversaries, or any opposition for that matter, currently out there promoting hate speech or spreading false allegations against many of the male empowering movements of today. And remember this, nothing would bring more joy to all of those feminists out there than the extinction of all masculinity, the eradication of all strong men with backbone. Feminism will never be concerned with the color of the man it attempts to emasculate. It is the relentless confidence and strength associated with masculinity they fear they will never conquer. That is, of course, without the assistance of their beloved social programming, convincing males at every given opportunity there's absolutely no pride under any circumstance to associate with being a man. So to drive this point home, as I take an honest look back at my development, as it relates to my own red pill studies, I've not yet completed enough research, in my opinion, to properly represent either of these philosophies in an intellectually honest manner. Although I am proudly a red pill man and very aware of the dangers associated with female nature, I still find myself from time to time reaching out to touch that stove I know is burning hot. Hence the reason I finally decided to throw this particular question out into the atmosphere, in hopes that some type of useful guidance or advice may one day find its way to me, assisting with my growth as I continue to evolve and learn to accept additional nuances about myself. Now, with too much pushback involved, many would agree the overall philosophies of MGTOW and IBMOR are quite similar, in terms of the preaching the importance of no marriage, no kids, and definitely no simping, as far as the Western Hemisphere is concerned, as well as the unapologetic rejection of consumerism and feminism in all of its forms. But what about when it comes to the unequivocal rejection of white supremacy? Ah, gentlemen, this is when things begin to get very tense but interesting in the manosphere we all know and hold so dear. All of a sudden, when such a topic is brought up for discussion, along with a proposed course of action demanding change, as a black man, you quickly realize not all of the men currently housed under the MGTOW label harbor the same concern nor see the relevancy associated with the inclusion of black issues, especially when it comes down to the pain as well as the damage often associated with white supremacy. No shade thrown, just keeping things 100. Now, don't get it twisted. There is no victim mentality embedded inside of this black man. As far as I'm concerned, there's no one out there who can stop me from achieving anything I've put my mind to accomplishing. Still, I will not come off as ignorant nor blind to the fact that while I'm out here tackling whatever challenge falls next in my queue, there are many circumstances strategically put in place, specifics I will not entertain, to ensure a black man's path to success, even once he gets there, was a much more trying journey along the way. End of discussion. Now, don't get me wrong, there are many white MGTOWs out there that are very stand-up individuals, I must admit. Again, keeping things 100. These individuals generally do not harbor any racist views, nor do they tolerate them, and without question have very inspiring as well as informative red pill content to share. Nonetheless, until black men can confidently step up and voice without judgment our concerns revolving around certain acts of racism and injustice, I personally believe the IBMOR movement at this time relates more to the plight of the black community and more specifically the black man. We as black men ultimately cannot reside under a title. which voluntarily continues to contain any type of racist elements. Now, I can already hear many of you out there proclaiming, MGTOW's not about race, bro. However, you do not speak for everyone. If you took the time to thoroughly examine certain MGTOW spaces and forums, you would sadly come to the realization that several individuals currently hiding behind the MGTOW label have decided to make things strictly about race relations, inadvertently or maybe intentionally leading to this unfortunate divide, which I personally view as a potential weakness to the overall manosphere. If we all understand and agree, there is without doubt strength in numbers, then why do we as men allow ourselves to foolishly remain divided, leaving ourselves in a much more vulnerable state? Who knows? Possibly another question or discussion for another day. At this time, I prefer to bring this one to a close. So once again, back to the topic at hand. The overall objective of IBMOR, as I currently understand it, summed up briefly, is the empowerment of all things representing Black male unity and solidarity. IBMOR contains prideful, respectful, integral individuals who understand the true power of brotherhood and maintain, by stressing the importance of Black men exercising a sense of self-reliance on a routine basis, which then over time manifests to a healthier self-esteem as well as a more centered perspective. A strong Black man with a good woman creates a strong family with the man as the head. And from a strong family comes a strong community. And from a strong community comes a strong society, and then a strong nation. With the current state of Black America today, we as a people need such a nation now more than ever before. As Black men, we are all aware of the dangers associated with the color of our skin. IBMOR encourages Black men to obtain leverage on these race and gender wars without violence, by going your own way and developing your own set of core principles in life. Refusing to play or even entertain any of these ridiculous rules currently forced upon us by this insufferable gynocracy. With that said, thanks again for checking in. If you found this content useful, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you don't mind, please leave your comments below and let me know if you have any suggestions for improving this channel. Until the next time, remain curious.